Welcome back. Today we're going to tie an Adams dry fly. I'm not going to tie this. I'm going to tie it catskill style, not parachute. The majority of them that I tie and fish these days are parachute. I just like the way they fish a little bit better. They get more in the surface film, but this is a great suggestive fly for any early season mayfly. Anything with a darker body, before the leaves start coming out and the mayflies change colors, whether it's sulfurs back in the east, PMDs in the west. This will imitate a quill Gordon, blue wing olive, blue dun, whatever it may be. These are great patterns for that, and you don't have to tie specifically to a pattern. This is going to imitate it and still catch fish for you, given a proper drift. But we're going to go ahead and get right into this. To start on this, I'm going to do this on a 14 today. This is a Daiichi 1110 size 14. I have, as always, gel spun 50 white thread for, let me try and get that button out of there. This is going to be odd tying this way, but that button is going to be distracting. Gel spun 50 white thread. If that button gets in the way, I do apologize. Maybe I'll just... There. We'll get rid of that. It's unbuttoned, so... There we go. That's a little bit better. Now I can be a little more comfortable tying. So with this, I'm going to take a Coq De Leon feather, and I'm going to pick this off from my tail. I'm going to get some longer strands on this. Get back here. You can do the Grizzly and brown if you want to. I think this gives you the same effect. It's just a lot quicker. So I'm going to measure this out the length of the hook and then just a little bit longer. Go ahead and get this tied in. Take it back to the ascent of the hook, or the ascent of the barb. Have that going straight back. I'm not going to split the tails. I'm not going to do anything fancy with it. It's just right to the back. Nice straight tails, and that's just going to... The tail was only there. I mean, you can honestly get away when you're tying mayflies. You don't even need the tail. The only reason the tail's there is just to... It's a little bit more surface area to keep your fly from going into the surface film and sinking, honestly. I mean, you don't need the tails at all. I don't think the profile, once it gets on the water, I don't think tails matter at all for the fish, but functionally, it keeps your fly afloat a little bit longer, and you can throw a little bit of floating on this, and it just makes your fly ride a little bit better. But as far as the fish looking and deciding, well, that one doesn't have the right tail, that's bullshit. So I have so hen saddle here. I'm going to use these for the wings. The reason that I don't fish these is the wings are a little, they just catch more wind, than just a regular parachute post, and they're a little bit more difficult to fish. But I figured I would just go ahead and do the catskill version of this. So I'm going to get two feathers that are pretty close to one another, pretty close to the same length. I mean, they're a good married couple. Then I'm going to measure this out the length of the hook. So I'm a little bit long there. I'm going to peel some of this back. That looks better. Oh shit. Disregard. We're going to do that again. Cussing a lot in this video. This isn't good. I hope my mother's not watching. I'll be getting a phone call. Okay, we'll try this again. So we're going to measure this out. just about the length of the hook, might be a little bit shorter. Peel all these fibers off. Don't bust them up and cuss so your mother calls you and says, Josh, you need to quit doing that. Leave yourself a little bit of stem to work with, and I'll go ahead and get zoomed back in. I know I'm zoomed out here. Can't really see what I'm doing too well, but it'll make sense once I start tying these in. So I have about a third of the hook left to work with here, and it looks like it's on a downward angle. I'm going to fix that in the monitor. That's better. So I'm going to take these two fibers, or these two hen saddles, and I'm going to turn them the opposite direction, just like when I did the green drake. If you guys watched that video, it's the same thing I'm doing here. I'm going to get these lined up. Those are pretty close. Get these lined up after I have them measured out. I'm going to set these right on top here. You get a loose wrap on it. It's going to want to rotate on me slightly, so loose wrap. And then as I go to the back, just tighten my wraps up a little bit. What happened there? Making a mess on this one. So then I'm going to go ahead and just stand these up. And I'm going to get a couple of wraps right in front of it. I'm not worried about dividing these things right now. I just want them to stand up. That's all. Oh, there we go. So I have these standing up. They're together right now. I mean, if I'll take and turn this a little bit, you can see, I mean, they're just one. They're standing together. So I'm going to keep them like that, and then I'm going to come to the back, and this is where I'm going to start my body. Wet these a little bit. This is just a regular gray dubbing. Like I said, in all of the stuff that I dub, all the flies that I do with dubbing, with dry flies, do not overdub it. Take as little as you can. You can see, I mean, you can hardly see those fibers. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just very, very sparse on this, because if you go getting heavy on your dubbing, you're going to wind up with gaps. Those gaps are places water can get in. It's going to sink your fly. You want absolutely nothing but, let me make sure I phrase this right. You want no more dubbing than what is necessary to give you your taper, to fill your body out, to give a good taper on this. You can see this is all the more I have. It's very slender. I have one little bump in there that I don't really like. I'm going to just come back over top of that. Just cover this up. I'm really getting picky on the taper on this one. I could have got away with that and it would have been just a fine dry fly, but I'm going to get this rope in here because I preach and harp on this so much about as little dubbing as possible, but still keeping a good taper. I'm going to go back over top of this and just work on my taper a little bit. There. That looks better. I went over that twice and I barely have, you can see, I barely have any bulk on that body whatsoever. I mean, it's just a nice clean taper. I didn't use anything. A lot of folks you'll see when they dub, they'll try and dub something like this on for their body. Use an eighth of that, if that. Don't get bulky on your body. That's all I will say on that one. So next, I'm going to take two different colors for my hackle. This is a size 14. If you've watched any of my dry fly videos before, I undersize my catskill style. So I'm going to pick probably a 16, maybe an 18 for my for my hackle. So I have these picked out now. I'm going to lay these up next to one another so you can see they're pretty close to the same size, same taper. They're not wanting to cooperate with me. There we go. The brown is a little bit, zoom out. The brown's just a little bit bigger or a little bit wider than the Grizzly. I'm going to tie the brown in first. The Grizzly's going to go over top of it. It doesn't really matter which direction you tie them in, which order you tie them in. That's just how I do it. But these are pretty close to the same size. I mean, holding them up, you can hardly see that there's any difference whatsoever. So I'm going to get this Grizzly tied in first. And right where you can see, these are old hackles. These things are 20 plus years old. If they were today's hackle, it would be probably that long for this section. But right where this taper starts to disappear, that's what I'm going to work with. And I don't even know why I'm explaining this. I mean, unless you're tying with old hackles like I am, you don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. So just get rid of your taper on the hackle. That way you have consistent wraps. Everything is nice and clean. And go ahead and tie this on there. Grizzly's going to be the second one to go. So we tie it first. And then same thing, I'm going to take the brown. I'm going to tie it in right over top. Then I'm going to come in front of my wing case and I'm going to catch these just to give me a little bit more security. So if I have to pull snug on the hackles, I know they're not going to fall off on me because I have them pulled tight. I have them tied on both sides. So I'm going to come on the opposite side here and then through on this side, and let me get zoomed in a little bit further now. So now what I'm going to do is take each individual wing and I'm just going to split these. I'm just going to split them and then I'm going to run a figure 8 through the wings. Probably 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. Just run my figure 8 through there. Then I'm going to pull them together, kind of stand them up, and there's 1 or 2 fibers I need to get rid of. That one right there is really bad. Get rid of that, and then I have one right here which I'm sure you can't see, but I can. I need to get rid of it because it's going to bug me. And then I'm going to come right in front of this and just give a couple secure wraps, tie these off. My wings are upright and divided. You can see them. I mean, they're pretty clean. They're pretty clean. I mean, I could have done a little bit better, but we don't want this to be a 45-minute video for me trying to make a perfect Adams dry fly. So, go back through. This is one of the most important parts, and I say this all the time. You have to dub through your wing case. Dub through the wing case. I don't care if you're using gray thread, I don't care. I'm using white, so obviously I have to dub through it, but if you're using gray thread, it's not going to be noticeable, but dub through your wing case. It just gives the right taper. It makes your fly look so much better. It really does. And I'm actually going to figure 8 right through this. Try not to catch too much. I'm going to figure 8 through my wing case. Oh. Get over there. When you're going through the wing case, keep your wraps loose, because if I pull tight, well, you'll watch. If I pull tight on this, see how it kicks my wing around? Don't do that. Don't pull tight, just go really loose through your wings. Really loose. No tension whatsoever. And then once you get to the other side, once you get in front of your wings, then you can go ahead and pull tight, because it's not pulling directly on your wings. It's pulling onto the hook shank, not to the wings. So then just go ahead and finish this up right to the eye of the hook. And then we're going to go ahead with the Grizzly first. And these are old hackles, so I got to use hackle pliers. And I'm just going to go ahead and work through this, get my hackle to turn how I want it. And I'm going to go 2 on the back side, 3 in the front. These are definitely old hackles. They were a grade 2 back in the day. For all of you Mets guys, these were a grade 2. If they were to come out today, these probably wouldn't even make the first cut. They would have been with the garbage pile. Just the engineering on these hackles has come so far in such a short amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and same thing here. I'm going to go 2 in the back. I'm going to come right in front of the wings. Hopefully not disturb those too much. Then I'm going to go 3 in the front. Peel this stuff back. Make sure I don't trap a whole lot with my next thread wraps. Keeping a nice clean eye. Everything's good. Now I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to whip finish on this because it's just going to be a little bit more accurate than whip finishing by hand. Pull that tight, cut your thread. At this point you can go ahead and clean this up a little bit, just make a couple of quick cuts. Any wild hackle fibers that you have, go ahead and get rid of those. And that hackle got a little bit longer on me. I probably should have went a size down from how I like to tie my dry flies. But there it is. There is the Adams dry fly. And I'm just going to take some gray right over top of my white thread, and I'm going to touch that up, just dull it down a little bit. But that's it. Mine is trimming a couple of wild fibers on the hackle. There is the Adams dry fly. Classic pattern. Like I said, very good for any early season mayfly. But if you guys have any questions on this, comments, leave them with me. I'll get back to you. But thanks again, and we'll catch you next week.